Hi everybody. So now our next step is to start setting up relationships. Now we sort of have a relationship already established in here chronologically, but that doesn't really tell us anything. It doesn't really show how that relationship kind of affects the whole project. So what we need to do is go in there for each of these groups and in essence tell it that when this particular task ends, okay, we want this next task to start. And when that one ends, we want the next one to start. This relationship is called a finish to start relationship, in that when one task finishes, the next one starts. All right. So we're going to put those in first for each of the groups. And then we're going to go back in there and start relating some of the groups with one another. All right. So that'll be kind of interesting. So we're going to start out, first of all, by selecting all of these tasks here for alpha. All right. So just those guys right there. And then up in the task tab, we have this little marker here, little icon I should say, called link to the selected task, right? So we go ahead and click it, and that links them all together. See, so what happens is, as I said before, when this one finishes, this one starts. So finish the start, and so on and so forth. So pretty neat. What you'll also see are how the dates are changing as well. So basically, for the first one, for the 3-day task here, it starts, today, let's say, on 3/4 and ends on 3/6. And that was driven by just having the 3 days in there. But now that we've got this next one related to its finish, then what happens when this one gets done on 3/6 at the end of the day, then this one gets started on 3/7 the next day. So let me backtrack just a little bit. Many people who use this program, and it might be even some of you that are watching this particular video, you have thought, you've known that you needed to have a relationship like this, an establishment like that. What you've done, though, maybe, is you've actually gone in there and actually changed the dates here, okay? So by changing the dates, so let's say for this one here, if you would have gone in there and actually changed it to 3/7 and changed this one to 3/11 and changed this one and so forth, you'd have gotten the same type of effect, but you wouldn't see these little link lines in there. And the problem too with that is that by you putting the data in yourself, you're establishing what are called constraints on that particular task. And you're putting a constraint on that task in that it won't budge, it won't move if later on, let's say for instance, you did it for all these, right? And then later on you go in there and you, let's say maybe shorten up this particular task, maybe make it 1 day, maybe change this one to 2 days, right? Well, what will happen is nothing will pull back. I mean, this will become shorter, but they're not going to move, okay? They're going to be kind of anchored in there. So, and that's because you would inadvertently had put a constraint in there by specifying the date. So, not that you can't do that, you shouldn't do that most of the time. There's going to be times that you might have to do it, and you'll see that in later videos. But my point is that when you're trying to do just a simple, setting up the relationship like you see here, you want to do it using, our little link button there. You don't want to do it by this, all right? By changing the dates. All right. So now the next one here, we'll go ahead and we'll select that range. Go back up there and link those. All right. Take these guys here. Link it. Take that. Link it. All right, so we're getting there. Not too much longer. So you can also see, too, when you're doing this, how the summary task kind of expands out. So it's basically showing 11 days from here to here, in essence, right? It's not necessarily going to always be these numbers added up to give you 11 days. If we, and you'll see how we'll do this later on, but if I were to maybe push this bar a little bit further out, but not where I make it longer, but rather I make the starting point a little bit, maybe a day or two more, then that'll push that out probably a day or two, and therefore then this will maybe change to 12 or 13, all right? Even though the numbers here still add up to 11, this will say 13. But you'll see that, you know, later on as we go through this. So that's how that works. Now, all right, so far we've established within the groups the relationships. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand my divider here a little bit to show another field that we have. And this one is called predecessors. And what's really kind of interesting about this is that it really makes it easy to see what each of these different tasks, what its predecessor or what it's based on, how it's related. And when you look at, let's say, you know, task AB, and it says its predecessor is 3, well, 3 means this one right here, because this is task 3. These are the true task numbers here, right? So that's actually relating back to task 3. This one here is relating back to task 4. This one for 5, this one's for 6, and so forth. Pretty slick. I really love this part because if I'm doing a regular class, you know, on site somewhere, and you know, somebody gets messed up with their relationships, and I mean they get it really twisted up. All we do is just tell them, okay, go to this column here. All right, for the first number that should be a 3, next one should be a 4, next one should be a 5, and you can just, you know, type in a new number on each one of these and get yourself right back on track again. So I love that part. So we're going to go ahead and set up some relationships between the groups, okay? So that we can show that, you know, maybe, for instance, let's say, for instance, maybe AC here, task AC, this one here, when this one gets done, we want it to drive this one to start this one up, okay? So in essence, we want to basically take this one here, okay, so I'll click onto there, and I want to relate it, and I'm going to hold on my control key, I want to relate it to this one here. So once we've got that selected, then we go back up into our task tab. We can click onto our relation or our, link tool here. Click on the link there, and you'll see what happens. So in essence, what that's showing is that even though this task will start when this one ends, all right, still though, while this one starts, so will this one start, see? So that's what's happening. So you'll see it out in the bars. You'll see out, okay, there's your task there, right? But also this task BA is also going to start. So that's pretty cool. And that will then drive that further out. So now that particular group there will now, I mean, if we did in fact start the project or start, the project on, today, then you would see that this would be the date that phase 1 technically would be complete. All right, pretty cool. But what's really neat is that when you start changing these relationships and things start getting pushed out and the dates change here, if you, on the other hand, had gone in here and set up all of these by you typing in the dates yourself, none of this stuff would move around. You would be in a big mess. I've had so many students tell me that that's what they started out doing, and they got so frustrated because they said when I started changing things and setting up new relations and stuff, or reduced or increased the durations, nothing would move. And that, as I said before, you start typing your own dates, they get nailed in there. They get, anchored in there, and nothing's good. So up to this point, let's just do a little review here. You make sure when you set up your project, you put your duration in, as far as your days or hours, whatever it happens to be. And then as far as your dates go, you don't touch those, okay? You let what we're doing here, setting up these relationships, drive the dates, push the dates, that type of thing. Now, if you have to have a particular task start on a certain date, and and you don't want to rely on it getting pushed exactly to that date from other tasks, then definitely you'd want to type it in. But we'll do that later on. All right, let's look at our next group here. And by the way, too, if you want to pull these bars back a little bit, in other words, or push them over so I can actually see the beginning, I can see the bar, you can kind of see how it's getting cut off there. Normally what you would do is you maybe take your little scroll arrow here and click that a few times. You could do that. The other way of doing it would be to click onto the actual task anywhere on it, and up in your taskbar you've got this thing here called scroll to task, and when you click that, it will actually kind of pull out or pull back or pull in and let you see that particular Gantt bar. Now what I want to do here is have it so where this particular task here starts when this one ends. All right, so let's kind of scroll over a little bit. You can kind of see that one there. So where we got BB, which is going to be what? This, if I get on there and you can see it. There it is. So when this one ends, we want then this one here to start, CA, all right? Now, another way of doing that, to connect them, to relate them, set up that relationship, if you can see the bar over here, all right, what I should say, this one here, you can see this bar here, and you can also see this one down here, which would be that guy right there. If you can see them both, and even if you can't, you can try doing this. We can actually just take this one right here, this line right here, all right? And when I point to it and hold down the mouse button like that, all right, we'll try this again here. So what you'll do is you kind of just point right on it. You'll see you get a little crosshair there, right? On BB. So we're going to hold down the mouse on that, right? Now watch this. We're going to drag it down like this. Now we're going to have to hit the wall a little bit to kind of go over a little bit there, all right? But we're going to bring it right over here to CA. See how they connect? You can see that little box right there. Oop. And that little box is letting us know what's happening. So we're going from task 11 to task 17. Now watch what happens over here. Oop. When I go ahead and drop it off there, I let go, and there it goes and puts that in there. Now what you're going to see too, just by the way, you'll see this blue stuff here. And that blue shading is letting you know that those are the things that changed due to what you just did. So by doing that relationship, you change that a little bit. So now we've got that in place. All right, so that looks good. All right. Now the next group that we're going to kind of work with is going to be this one down here. And what I want to do is when CD gets done, I want DA to start. Now, the other way I can do this, which is I think even simpler than the last two ways we've been doing it, is that you can actually go over to here and say, okay, what's its predecessor going to be? In other words, what is it going to rely on before it starts? Well, it's going to rely on CD here, which is task number 20. So what I can do here, I'm sorry, not CD, but CC, sorry. So the number we're going to be typing in for this is going to be what? Well, if it's CC, then it's number 19, right? So I just type in 19, hit the enter key, and look at that. Boom, it springs out there. So if I go further out here now, I can see what's happened there. So now what's happening is when CC gets done, it triggers on to CD. CD starts up and all that, but also does then this one down here. So that's pretty cool. Now the next relationship we're going to have here. So when CB, now I'll have to pull it back just a little bit so you can see it. When CB gets done, even though it's going to be pushing, you know, these as well, you know, directly and indirectly, what I want to do here is when this one gets done, I want it then to trigger then down here and have it trigger this one here. So again, I think the easiest way to do that would be to say, okay, I'm over here. When CB gets done, so CB is number 18, right? So I just type in 18, hit the enter key, and that one shoots out. So there we go. So there's 18 right there when that thing gets done. It gets over the weekend. And then we get this one over here. All right, let's look a little bit further down here to our FA here for our beta task FA. Now, that one is way back to the left here because we haven't linked it to anything yet. So what we want to do is we want to drive FA by telling it that it needs to rely on task 35 to get done. Now, task 35 up here is task EC, or EB, sorry about that. So anyway, so over here, in this slot right here, what are we going to type in? Well, we're going to type in number 35 because number 35 is then what? EB, right? So when EB gets done, then this one will start. So the minute I put that in there, now watch what happens here. Hit the enter key. You'll see it spring out. Let me just kind of pull that over a little bit there. So there you go. So there's your EB. So when EB gets done, all right, it will drive then FA, and that goes out there. It's pretty wild stuff. And you know, this, while you're looking at this, you guys, I'm sure some of you are sitting there saying, how am I going to remember all this? When it's your own data, when it's your own task in there, you're going to know what comes after what comes after what needs to be related to what, and so forth. And this is the way you do it. And trust me, when it's your data, it's going to be a lot easier to do, a lot easier to fathom there. This next one's going to be a little bit easier because all we're going to do here is tell it that when FE gets done, we want then GA to start. All right, so it's going to be a typical one here. So we can go ahead and just maybe click on, well, we can click onto here and click on there, or what can we do? We can just go over here and do what? Type in what? Type in 48, right? So let's just type in 48, what the heck? And then we go on that one, and then if we kind of scroll out there a little bit, you can see that one now. So there's 48 getting done, right? And when that gets done, then 52 starts. So that's perfect. Now for the next one, I want this task here, okay, to start when task 47 ends. Now, task 47 up here is going to be FD. So when FD ends, okay, it's going to drive then HA, all right? So all I have to do here is just click over here and just type in what? Type in number what? 47, right? So 47, 47, hit the enter key. That gets pulled out. Now I'll just kind of pull that back just a little bit. And you can see that. So there's 47. When it gets done, it drives this one. All right? Not bad. And then last but not least, when number 61, I'm sorry, it's number 62 here, which is HD, when that one gets done, we want then this one to start. So over here, we're going to type in what? Number 62, right? So 62 there. And now if we go over a little bit, there you go. Not bad. So now you kind of wonder what this all looks like, right? So let's go back and let's scroll back up to the top here, right? And it's showing, given what we have for our project now with the relationships, that it's going to be starting today and ending basically about 3 months from now. So now back out into June. Now I can go ahead and click onto this task here, go over to my task tab, click on the scroll to task right there, and that'll bring me up there. So now you can kind of see the whole thing. Well, not, I mean, the whole thing, but you'd have to scroll out. Now, so looks pretty good. So we go there, and we can kind of scroll down a little bit, go like here, scroll down, and eventually you'll see that. All right. Okay, so that kind of sums up the way we set up our relationships in general, you know, how we link things together and so forth. All right. Now, we're going to do our next video. Will be, you know, continuing with this, but hopefully you enjoyed what you saw here, and we'll see you in a bit.